Today's video, we're going to talk about how to get a quick cash refund from Google Ads. Basically get money back from Google Ads that you're already running that you may not even have a problem with. If you just want free money from Google, this is a video for you basically, to where it's just a simple process anybody can follow to get money back from Google. But it's more so talking about when you guys that do actually have a problem with click fraud or competitors clicking on your ads. There's a very easy, straightforward process to ask for your money back from Google when you do this. And what I'm going to give you as far as information, it's not going to be the typical regurgitated information that's out there. There's a specific process that we follow that we're using to be able to get money from Google basically every time. And at the very least, you're going to get money a lot of the time using this process. When I say a lot of money, we're talking about, 10, 20, 30% of your money back on an ongoing basis. Depending on how much you spend, that may actually add up. So, but I say it like I said what I said at the start of the video, because you're basically, even if you don't have a big problem, if you ask for a refund from Google Ads and you try to make a case that some of the clicks are fraudulent, ultimately, it's whether or not you get that refund's predicated on how much evidence that you have. If you present, as we found anyway, enough evidence of particular clicks that you've paid for through Google Ads as fraudulent, you'll get a refund whether or not they're actually fraudulent or not, which I'm not asking or advocating for you to try to trick Google or, commit fraud against Google. What I am saying is basically nobody knows if a click's fraudulent or not. And if Google knew what clicks were fraudulent, they would just block them in the first place. So when you go to Google and say clicks are fraudulent and you want a refund from Google using their refund form for that process, they simply are going to base whether or not you're going to get a refund or not based upon A, how bad does it look like you want one, and what's the likelihood that you're going to quit as an advertiser because of that if they don't give you a refund. I mean, let's just be real. Think about it from their perspective. But also how much evidence you have to indicate ultimately that you're, ultimately, just to put it in this perspective, it's just like if one of your customers came to your business and they had a huge long letter as to why they should have a refund. You would be more likely to give them a refund in that case versus somebody who just showed up and said, knock, 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 I want a refund. Why? I don't know, but just because I do. Give me it. You're going to be more empathetic to somebody, even though this is a somewhat of an automated process that decides. Actually, I don't know if it is a 100% automated process that Google has that determines if you get a refund or not. I don't know for sure. If somebody knows, let me know. But naturally, either way, the more evidence you provide when you're making your case that you should get some money back from Google, the more that they're going to want to give you the money back. So they don't know if the clicks that come through your campaign are fraudulent. If you try to come to them with a really compelling argument as to why they're fraudulent, they're going to believe you more. At the very least, they're going to probably give you a refund because it just sounds like you're serious. So for that reason, you could have absolutely no problem with click fraud and get a refund back from Google every 60 days for the last 60 days worth of clicks and get some percentage of your money back. Essentially being you have a strategy to get a higher ROI from your campaigns and what you're spending, because a certain amount of money you just simply get back every other month and in general. And only simply having to, follow the instructions, having a click fraud software that's going to be able to help you make the case for yourself to get this money back, which is how you do it without it taking so much time and without the success rate going down so much, that you actually get money back and have it be a significant amount of money. So with that said, I'm going to get into the content here. Now, in the local service space, by the way, click fraud / bots are getting to be a bigger and bigger problem for clients and prospects that I talk to on a regular basis, particularly in any high CPC business type. So in other words, if you're a local business that where the cost per click in your market's very, very high because the average job size that you have, particularly where the jobs pay out right away, the cost per click is going to be really high to be competitive in that space. A lot of markets, the cost per click is, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a click and upwards in some markets. And even just like AC repair, crime scene cleanup companies, basement water damage, flooding, water removal from like flooded basements, that kind of thing. Why? Because the average job size is several $1,000s, and everybody in that market wants to be able to run an ad, get a click, get a job, and because it's instant cash. And then obviously everybody knows about it at this point, and it bids up the cost to the point where Google extracts the maximum amount of value, and there's much poundage of flesh that they can get from people that want those customers as possible, to the point where they really can't get away with charging anymore before nobody wants the clicks anymore. I mean, let's just be frank about it. So anyway, with the cost per click being very, very high, click fraud is a bigger problem because it's easier to click fraud somebody than if you had to like click their ad a bunch of times because the cost per click is $2 a click. It just physically, tangibly takes more time and effort to click fraud somebody. Given Google has its own click fraud systems to tell if a click's fraudulent or not, and it's pretty sophisticated. It's not as easy as you think to just click on your competitors' ads and drain their budget. But it is easy to trick Google if it's just a few clicks. In a lot of you guys' cases, if you wanted to click fraud your competitor, it would just mean going in there and clicking on the ad at your office and clicking on their ad at home every day could throw off enough of their budget for the guy who's not spending very much to just totally wreck their campaign as is with 2 clicks a day at $50 a click and $100 a day. So therefore it's more likely you're having a problem with click fraud or bot clicks even, which is basically the same thing, we'll just say, than other people. And for some reason in local service markets, it's a big problem, particularly lately, for which this is just speculation, but I feel like these guys that are in HVAC, suicide cleanup, basement flooding, like I said, markets like that, or just local home service type businesses, click fraud's a bigger problem because the people who run those businesses are less business savvy as a whole. They're blue collar workers that stumbled into a company. They're an electrician that was a good electrician. They worked for some electrician company, then they started their own company, but they thought it was going to be easy or whatnot. And as it comes to trying to outcompete their competition, if you will, the easiest, obvious thing to do that would be to click your competitors' ads, at least versus trying to become a PPC expert or to figure out how to be, very strategic and ruthless in your business strategy and all that. So it just seems like a more so of a go-to for people in that business. Now, I'm not trying to put any blue-collar business owners out there down. It's just thought, I don't know why necessarily it's so prevalent. It's easy because a lot of the local service company niches, the cost per click is high, but why isn't it a bigger problem in national like professional services? Why? I don't know. Also in local professional services is not quite a problem either. Local home services is the worst anymore. It's enough, and it's bad enough in some cases you can't make money in it because the click fraud's so bad. We've actually seen that multiple times now. At least if you were to do nothing. I'm going to explain what you're going to be able to do to fix a click fraud problem no matter what market you're in as a side here. So stay tuned for that. If you want to know, by the way, if click fraud is eating into your budget, because a lot of you guys want to know that as well. You don't know why you're not making money. Is click fraud stopping me from physically making money from these ads and have it be a waste of my time and effort and everything running the ads? 2 main ways to know if you've got the click fraud problem. Surges in your spend. If your spend is humming along and all of a sudden it shoots up to where you're spending like 2 or 3 times as much for 1 or 2 days, or consistently started spending a bunch more all of a sudden, that's almost always an indication of click fraud, because naturally clicks, the amount of search volume in your space, i.e. the number of people searching in your space on an ongoing basis, does fluctuate. But if it's averaging plus or minus like 25, 50% in terms of the clicks you get, then all of a sudden you're getting 2 or 3 times the clicks, which is a great jump, a factor of 2 or more difference between the amount of clicks you were averaging before. And then a lot of times, by the way, what you'll see is, you'll average like 20 to 30 clicks a day, and then all of a sudden you're getting 100 clicks a day for a couple days, and then it'll go down to 20 to 30. And that's a very clear sign you have some issue with some kind of click fraud. Bot clicks doesn't necessarily have to be tied to click fraud, by the way, because there's some bots out there that are scraping your website for information. And a lot of times when you see that happen, you'll see in your search terms report searches like carpentry companies in the USA, which it'll be somebody like in India trying to collect leads to try to sell SEO services to these companies, and you have to block them. But a lot of times also bots are tied to click fraud, because instead of manually clicking your ads or paying somebody to manually click your ads, they have bots to do it as well. So not everybody does click fraud the same, but anyway, that's a big tell if you got a problem with click fraud and you have to do some of the stuff I'm mentioning on today's video. The other thing is form spam. And if you have both of these at the same time, it's even greater of a sign that you have a click fraud problem and you got to deal with it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to. If you're not already losing money, you will start to at some point, probably anyway. Form spam, it is just like it sounds. Your contact forms are getting bullshit leads. It looks like salespeople, or sometimes it'll be gibberish, but the amount of form leads you had, if it all of a sudden jumps up in terms of the bad leads that aren't qualified leads, that are not real people, if that goes up all of a sudden, that is another indication that you have a click fraud problem that started. And what people do in order to get away with the click fraud when they're doing it to you is they'll not only click your ads, but they'll click through your ad and then fill out your form to do 2 things. A, trick Google to make it look like real traffic so they catch on less, and they don't ultimately, refund your money because they realize that person who was clicking your ads was somebody that wasn't legitimate. And but the second reason is to discourage you. And I've talked about this in other videos. What a lot of these click fraud companies, companies that do click fraud will do is they'll hit you hard and fast. If they notice a new advertiser, they come in and just slam you with the click fraud for a few months, knowing that they can't do it forever because it's expensive to keep doing the click fraud on you. But if they do it hard and fast, they'll discourage most people from being a long-term advertiser, given most people aren't, they're short-sighted, we'll just say. I mean, it is what it is. And because they're not making money in 6 weeks, they're done. Whereas if they would have waited past 3 months, then they would have been past that window of time that people will literally, every new guy coming in, they'll slam them for the first 3 months, they'll do the click fraud, and 90% of the people that come in won't stay in because they can't make money within the first 3 months, because that's what most people expect up front, and they won't get it because of the blast of click fraud that they go after every single person coming in the market like that to keep out competition so that the cost per click in the market is lower and they get a higher percentage of the clicks, given there's less people, basically cycling in and out of the 4 ad spots on top of Google. But on the form spam side, just as a part of what I said, to try to trick you / discourage you so you'll just quit, before you ever get started really, you'll see that you're getting all these spam people. So they'll go, oh, I'm getting all these clicks and all these fucking salespeople are filling out my contact form. Google Ads is bullshit. You're more likely to think it's bullshit if you're getting clicks and you're getting these form spams thinking it's a salesperson, which is very tricky. Very, very, very smart that they do this. Versus you're just getting the clicks and you get no form leads, and then you thought it was a bot problem, you might go try to figure out how to fix the bot problem, versus think it's salespeople that you're going to normally get through Google Ads, and that being by default what you would think is an unfixable problem. So it's kind of a psychological fake out, or it's like psychological warfare basically, where they're basically tricking you into thinking Google Ads is something it's not. And so anyway, between the form spam surge and the spend surges, that's how you know if you got a click fraud problem. So how you fix the problem is through mostly lead scoring, which to do lead scoring, you get yourself a CallRail account and you do some form tracking of your contact forms. And when you get a good quality lead in, you flag that lead as good quality, and then you send that data through what is called offline conversion tracking back to Google Ads. You can do the same thing with Bing Ads too. And ultimately then, over time, particularly after you get like 30 or more conversions already of verified quality prospects or leads, you can switch your ad account to, instead of optimizing for phone calls, you can optimize for verified quality calls. And if you want to go a step further, when you get a sale, you can plug in your sales revenue into your account, so you can see your sales revenue from the leads that you closed in your account, and then have the account guide you to get more sales revenue, not just more qualified calls, but actual more sales revenue, and furthermore, more ROI. So you can actually optimize your business like it's an e-commerce business through your account. And because the better quality data that Google has to push your ads, the more results you're automatically going to get. To the point where the difference between the guy who only tracks if he got a phone call and the guy who tracks whether or not he got an ROI, and what's ultimately what produced revenue you're going to have a 3x or more difference in long-term results from the guy who uses his revenue data to steer his account versus whether or not a phone call come in. Given there's going to be certain phone calls that are 5 to 10 times more qualified and better and furthermore profitable because they have bigger job sizes and they close at a higher rate than other phone calls. And the cheapest phone calls are usually going to be the ones that have the smaller job sizes because they're less in demand, and keywords that generate those, lower quality jobs or lower size jobs are less in demand, and therefore the cheaper cost per click, therefore the cheaper cost per call. And if you're optimizing for calls, you're going to get most of the calls to come from the places that you're going to get the smallest jobs at, which is probably the lowest ROI as well, even though it might be a similar ROI. But for the most part, naturally you're not going to make as much because Google's going to optimize for the cheapest calls, and the cheapest calls are usually not the best calls, bottom line. So anyway, long story short, you get this data. Every phone call that comes in that's qualified, you send that data to Google, or the revenue data if you can do that, which I would do if I were you. The contact forms that are verified as quality leads, i.e. you called them and know it's a real person who wants services. At the very least, you pass that back to your Google Ads account, or the sales revenue that was generated from those form leads. And then you set up the auto or smart bidding to optimize for the quality calls or revenue / ROI. And with that, what you're going to find is, and ultimately the reality is why this works, is the profile of the person who's a customer or at least a verified lead is going to be different as a whole. The signature of the type of people that are your typical customer basically is going to be different than the click fraud user's signature. Because ultimately, Google stores all the data about all the users that use Google back to 2003 when they started their company, basically. Or I guess it was before then, but essentially everything you do on Google, everything they can see you do using Google Chrome, that's all stored in a database somewhere to the point where Google has 1 million data points or more on you as a person. They track everything you do and they store it. They buy data from third parties to get even more data. And so they know you better than you know yourself in reality. And, so with that, your customers that come in, they look at the 1 million plus data points they have on the customers you get, and they compare those 1 million data points to the 1 million data points that make your other second customer unique, and then see where the data points line up, and then where they can see the matching data points, they draw an inference from that. And then they do the same thing with the third and the fourth and the fifth customer. And which is why I mentioned once you get like 30 qualified leads, that's enough of a data set right there. When you compare the million data points of 30 different users together, you'll be able to find some clear trends in there so that the algorithm can start guiding your ads towards the general direction of where you want it to go, which is qualified people and not bots or click fraud clicks. And the click fraud clicks, given generally it's the same person doing it to you. There's usually, if it's going to happen to you, by the way, it's usually one asshole in the market that's doing it. Why do I know this? Because we'll have a franchise that we'll do PPC for, and we'll have campaigns going in several cities for that franchise that we're managing all their accounts at our PPC agency. Three of the four locations will have no problems with click fraud, but that one location will have a problem. And whereas I don't know for sure that that's not two people doing click fraud in that market, for the most part you can pretty much kind of guess, and it's just one person in that market that's doing it, but that one person's all it takes to completely kind of derail a campaign and force you to do this lead quality scoring or lead scoring, and then putting that data into your account to steer your ads, because if you don't, your ads are not going to be profitable. And ultimately, kind of lost my train of thought here. Basically, you want to do pass this data back into your account, long story short, so that the algorithm can understand what a customer looks like and what it does. Oh, I now remember exactly how I was going to follow this up. So essentially, the person doing it to you probably has the same system going to click on your stuff, and there's patterns in it. The type of people clicking, there's patterns to it. The bots that they have clicking, there's patterns to it. Those patterns are uniquely different than the patterns that match your customer base. And the more data Google has on your customers, the more they're going to be able to differentiate that from the person click frauding you, basically. Bottom line, that's basically the number one way how you fix a click fraud problem. And so if you can actually, see through the weeds and understand that if you just get enough, if you're running your campaign at a loss now and you run your ads long enough with the tracking setup the way that I said, where you're scoring the leads coming in and passing it back to your account, eventually you'll have enough data, 30 or plus more leads that are verified leads, to where the Google's ad serving algorithm that decides should your ad show up for a keyword or not, because it's never always going to show up for a keyword. The algorithm's trying to decide if your ad should show up for that keyword or not that you're bidding on. The algorithm's going to be able to start getting you less bot clicks and more of the clicks you want. And so you should basically, and what I'm trying to say is you should see it out. Even if your ads are losing money now, set up this tracking system, gather the data, eventually it'll work, and you won't have any more problems with the bots. And the further you get into it with the proper tracking setup, like I talked about, the less of a problem with the bots / competitor clicks that you're going to have. But so that's specifically how you fix it. Not many people are going to tell you that. Most people are going to tell you to use a click fraud software. The click fraud software like ClickSees, PPC Protect, softwares like that are rarely going to be useful on its own. Why? Well, there's a lot of different reasons. One, there's sometimes sophisticated players that do this. One of the other big reasons is you can only block so many IP addresses. IP address is a number that, if you don't know what it is, that identifies you as a user on the internet, and that your internet service provider gives you. And the click fraud software looks at the IP addresses of the users that come to your site or whatnot. And if it finds somebody suspicious, it gives you the IP address to then give to Google to block. Well, Google only lets you block up to 500 unique IP addresses. So you can't just find somebody that looks like they're fraud and block them forever, because if you did that every time, you'd go over that 500 threshold, and then, so basically, all you can do is block the people that most recently look bad. You can't build a forever growing list of IP addresses. So that's one big reason why click fraud software, at least by itself, isn't going to do anything. Now, click fraud software can be good for blocking crude attempts at a competitor click frauding you, such as they're doing it themselves, they're having friends do it, and so forth. And they're doing it specifically if they're doing it multiple times. In that somebody clicks your ad, and the next day they try clicking it again, the next day they're trying to click it again. You can block that rather easily with click fraud software. But that's not going to be the only situation where click fraud is going to happen, where they're just, that's what's going on. But for a lot of people that don't know how to hire a botnet to do click fraud to you, which is almost impossible how to block that, at least specifically with the click fraud software, it's impossible. But ultimately, a lot of people will just have a few people they know click on the ads, and each day they'll go and click on it once. And if they do that method, then it blocks that one person can only click on your ad once before, and you can limit your loss to just the one click, versus otherwise Google will let somebody click on your ad 20 times if that's what it takes. So, respectively, the click fraud software can help that in that situation can be pretty useful. Ultimately, as a small side, for somebody who clicks on your site more than once, there's a hack that you can use to kind of block those people as well, without using click fraud software, which is you create a remarketing audience and you add that to your search campaigns, and then you tell Google, if somebody's on this list of people that have been to my site already, I want to bid 90% less. So that in effect, if they have not been to your site already, they can be eligible to see your ad because you're spending enough per click. Versus if they've been to your site already, you're going to tell them you want to spend so little that you effectively won't show up. And that basically does the same thing what the click fraud software does for you inherently to help you actually block click fraud, which is not much. It only blocks crude attempts, and that's pretty much it. The real effective method to get rid of click fraud is you do the offline conversion tracking, like I said, and you stick with it, and eventually the click fraud it's not going to affect you, given if you're targeting, basement flooding services as a keyword, and that's what you do. Ultimately, Google will look at the data that you gave it, and it's going to decide if your ad should show up for a person when they search for basement flooding services or not. Because they could show you, or they could show one of your competitors' ads, or show no ad. And the algorithm, when you set up smart bidding and you got that revenue or qualified lead data flowing into your account, if the user searching doesn't look like somebody that's going to ultimately result in a qualified lead, the ad just simply won't show up. So I think it was, you probably already understand what I'm trying to say here, when I explained this the first time about how this lead scoring and then offline conversion tracking will weed out click fraud, but there it is again for you. So ClickCease or click fraud software isn't going to be able to do very good fixing click fraud, but going back to the topic and title of this video, ClickCease is going to be great for getting and requesting cash refunds. Even if you don't have click fraud, like I said, you can still ask for a refund and a lot of times get it. So even if you don't have a problem with click fraud, you could use ClickCease to ask for a refund to cut down on the amount of time and effort you would need to actually ask for a refund and get part of your ad money back on an ongoing basis to kind of support the ROI that you're looking for your campaign, given that the cost per your ads will be less overall when you get a refund on an ongoing basis, and as you keep asking for it on an ongoing basis using this process. So how do you ask for a refund using click fraud software like ClickCease? With ClickCease specifically, which I'll speak of and for, other click fraud softwares, I'm pretty sure they do the same thing, but I haven't checked into it because I haven't had a need to. But what you do is you run your ClickCease software, and then ultimately after 60 days exactly, you're going to go to generate a report showing all the clicks that the suspicious clicks report, the inside ClickCease, that's going to generate a report of all the people that look like they were click fraud and the reasons why it looks like it's click fraud. And you're going to take that report that ClickCease gives you in a nice, beautiful, tidy package, And you're going to take that report, and then you're going to go to Google's click quality form, also kind of known as, the Google Ads refund request form, and you're going to use that report to ask for your refund. So now the thing is, I mentioned 60 days specifically because you can only do this every 60 days. Google has a hard limit on how often you can ask for a refund. But the way that you make money with PPC is you look at the limitations and opportunities with PPC and you exploit them for every little bit that you can get. And you take that and you add it in with a bunch of other things, that individual little strategies that work, and that adds up to the really big results on your account. Very rarely can you just set up a PPC account real quick and cash out because things are competitive. And it's just not, and if it were that easy, your competitors would have done it a long time ago already. So this is one strategy that can help you win at PPC in addition to a bunch of other things. But every 60 days, if you export that report, which is really easy to export via the ClickSees interface, and then you upload it to your click quality form, lots of times, because you have comprehensive, compelling evidence of the click fraud, or at least some evidence, you're going to get some refunds back from Google on a regular basis. So going back to what I was saying before about you exploit every opportunity you can with Google Ads. Give yourself every advantage so you can actually beat your competition, because it's you against your competition. Whoever has the most sales from the amount of clicks and the amount of ad spend that you have, that person's going to, it's kind of winner takes all in that. If you don't know it already and haven't seen my other videos, top 20% of people on the Google Ads in any given market make most of the money, make like 80% of the money. Everybody else either makes a little bit or breaks even or loses money. So if you're going to do it, you only do it to be in the top 20% because that's what it takes to really make the thing work and pay for itself. And so, and if you're wondering why people run the ads consistently even though they lose money, a lot of people don't track the results, so they don't even know they're losing money. And that's half, I would say, of the people that are running ads on Google Ads at any given time, which means you're competing against a bunch of people who's willing to pay a lot of money for an ad to lose money, which makes it even harder to be in that, to be there, given there's only so many slots available to advertise there. You're competing against people that don't have to make money and they want to make money, but they don't know they're not making money. But this is one advantage of instead of having to spend $100 to get $100 worth of clicks, you could spend $90 to get $100 worth of clicks, or $80 to get $100 worth of clicks, or what everybody else has to pay $100 to get. And by the way, the actual amount that you can save is around that 10 to 20% of what you're spending on Google Ads if you systematize this process. So like other things you would do once you find something that works on Google Ads and then keep doing it, which is going to be one little bit of an advantage you're giving yourself to beat your competition in your market, this will be another thing that you can do. And if the only reason why people don't do it now more, well, a lot of people don't know about it, but they don't want to, they're busy. They don't have time to do this shit, basically. But it's really dumb to think that way, because with the amount of offshore contractors, you can hire people for $3 an hour in Asia or whatnot to do tasks like this. You can create a screen sharing video or a video where it records your screen and your voice. You can actually show how to export the report from CallRail and upload it to the form on Google, and then just have this contractor once every day log in to do it. It will take that contractor literally 30 minutes to do the whole thing every 60 days, which costs you $2 in labor cost at the end of the day. To get, if you're spending 10 grand a month on ads, you get $1,000 back in ad spend every month because you submitted that report every time. That's what I'm talking about. That's the type of shit that's going to be able to put you in a position to win with Google Ads. You need to give yourself that type of advantage, and you need to go ahead and watch my other damn videos to find out the other 50 things like that I have for you here to be able to have that advantage and make sure you're not just in the top 20% of advertisers, that actually make money, but you're in the top 1% in your market, which is not hard for literally anybody to do if you just put the work in. You got to be able to, and what you don't have time for, you get a contractor in Asia or whatever to do it on a regular basis. Once you get something like this going, then you work on the next thing that makes money. Watch another one of my strategy videos. Figure out how to make that strategy work. Then work on the next one. And you just stack the things on top of each other. And eventually you're banking hard. And you're banking hard because your competition either was too lazy or arrogant to do the things that I'm mentioning on my video, which a lot of times it should be common sense as to why it works or should work. At the end of the day, Google Ads is about, other than when you're talking about some shit like this, helping the user find what they want better and easier than your competition, because Google will favor you in terms of lower cost per click and more clicks from your market. And you do that, you're going to make more and more and more money the better job of it you do. And it really that simple. You're competing against all the other people in your space. There's usually 10 people that are cycled out of the top 4 ad spots on Google search. Whoever gets the most clicks is going to be the person who has the highest click-through rates and the highest conversion rate on the landing page. And everybody's scored against each other on those two main things there. And if you want to be in that top 20% that actually makes some money, you got to have a higher click-through rate, higher conversion rate than all the other 80% of people that you're competing with against in that market. But if you do those things, you basically are guaranteed to make money. And anybody can do that because most people in your market are barely trying. They literally, I'm telling you this because I see it all the time, they literally will spend 30 minutes setting up their ads and they're done. It doesn't take that much work to beat most people in most markets. Now in some big money niches, that's not going to be the case. If you're in a market like personal injury law in a big city, there's actually people that are putting in more than 30 minutes of work. But for 80% of the markets out there, you could win by putting in 2 hours of work, really. Even though you shouldn't do that, you should take my strategies, do like I mentioned before, make a video explaining what needs to be done, hand it to an employee or an offshore contractor, have them execute it, check it at the end, and it's guaranteed money. As far as stuff in your business that can make you more money, there's not going to be anything more easier to make you more money than making your Google Ads campaign or your PPC campaigns more effective in terms of the effort, time, and investment that you need to put in to get that return. Because the stuff is, if you just know what works, it's not a risk. It will get you the results. I manage 30, 40 campaigns here and test things on an ongoing basis, so I can just tell you what works. And if you just do it, you'll get the result every time. Because your competition is going to be too lazy or arrogant to do it. So anyway, I'm done with my rant. As it comes to getting a free refund from Google, you should just leaving money on the table basically by not using the ClickC software and asking for the refund. Bottom line, based upon how much effort it takes and time or just cost to pay somebody to submit the refund on your behalf, there's no reason not to do it. Particularly if you're spending a lot of money, let alone, $1,000, $2,000 a month US in ads spent a month. So more it is, the more you're leaving on the table. But that's pretty much the whole thing. As it comes to click fraud, I gave you some good information about click frauds, how to actually avoid it, not to fall for this, click fraud. Mostly it's snake oil. It seems like a one-size-fit-all, instant, cure-all pill that you can take that'll get rid of click fraud. Like I showed you and explained here, it's not. It can provide some help, but you need to use advanced tracking to clean up your ads from being able to show up from people that aren't real people that you want your ad to show up for. And whether you're getting hit with click fraud or not, you can ask Google for a refund, and many times just get the refund even if you don't even know if it's click fraud. ClickCease is going to tell you there's a bunch of click fraud. I guarantee you, no matter if there is click fraud or not, because it always finds click fraud. And I know in a lot of markets, it's not like there's click fraud in those markets. I know there's not, because why would somebody click fraud you if the cost per click in that market's dollar per click, and they would have to click you thousands and thousands of times. It would be expensive to do that. It's expensive to hire people to click on your ad, which a lot of times they'll hire offshore contractors to do it, but that's still going to cost money. And it's expensive to have a bot, because the bot's going to have to be super sophisticated to work. A lot of times it's going to take a botnet where you basically have unsuspecting people, which their computers are infected with malware, to turn them into a slave device and have those devices click on your competitors' ads to really trick Google. It's not as easy as you think to trick Google. If you were thinking ever about doing click fraud to somebody, one of your competitors, which is really bogus, first of all, I believe in karma, and I believe whatever you do to them is going to come back to you anyway. But beyond that, it's really dumb to go after somebody by clicking on their ads when there's so many things you could do that will just make your ad better. And to why all these people are clicking on our competitors' ads or clicking on our clients' ads that have the problem when they could just fix their ads and watch this channel. It's not like the information's hidden. Maybe they don't know about this channel. In terms of they would actually make more money actually just fixing their ads, and they focused on click fraud. And I do really believe that. Anyway, that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and were educated and entertained by it, and you profit from it quite a bit. If you have any questions about anything I share with you today, leave me a comment below. I'll get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. You can ask me, by the way, any question you have about PPC. I'd be happy to help and provide some help to the community as well by answering your question and having it publicly available for other people to learn from, which is why I like doing it. By the way, I appreciate it if you want to help me out. Really appreciate it if you would like the video as well, so that it would help the algorithm, help get this video out there for some other people that could be helped by it. If you like this channel, you should subscribe, given, like I mentioned many times on this video, all the information on how to get rich, particularly through doing PPC, is all available for you on this channel. You're not going to find better information anywhere else on YouTube, I guarantee it, than you're going to find on this channel about how to actually make money with PPC using Google ads, Facebook ads, and the like, because it's coming straight from the source of somebody who tests millions of dollars of ad spend on an ongoing basis. Tell you what works as well as what doesn't work, so you can't possibly mess it up. If you like the videos that I have on this channel, you'll also like my blog, which you can also find at guaranteedppc.com/blog, and get more step-by-step tutorials and advice for yourself there as well. Beyond that, last thing I want to mention before I wrap this video up, which is we have a turnkey program at our PPC firm now where we offer PPC management services to clients. In case you want the best PPC campaign manager that you're going to be able to find, you can find it right here. But if you don't want to pay so-called high fees, which they're worth it anyway, but assuming you're a type of person who doesn't want to pay an outside agency to help you manage your campaigns, you could actually now, with us having worked in hundreds of different niches and markets before now, if you are in a different geographic market than one of our clients or past clients, instead of having our full-on services that we offer, you could take the campaign templates, ads, and landing pages and so forth we know already work for your market, and simply essentially copy and paste the results we got in your market already that we built up over the years, and could tell you what results you could get with those templates and everything, and get results relatively quickly and easily, and pay a one-time fee for what templates already work for your market already, and then just hurdle over all the work that you need to do that I raved that you have to do to make actual money with Google ads and Facebook ads and so forth, but it's all already done for you. If you're interested in that type of thing, reach out to us. We've got all kinds of people taking our template, starting new businesses up, outsourcing all the work, because the campaigns work so damn good that just by having that campaign that's 3 to 5 times better than any other campaign in that local market, they have a business basically in a box. They take the so-called leads or whatever, outsource them to a local partner, they got a passive income business already. So anyway, if you're interested in that, reach out to my firm. I'll be glad to show you like what kind of opportunities we have and if we've worked in your market already, so you can see what kind of results we could get in your market, given our work is already done in your market, or presumably done in your market already. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on my next video where we have another great PPC strategy for you there. See you there.